Good science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in the frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown and a loser?
Where you been?
Drunk. Wendy? Darling? Light of my life.
What's your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
I was keeping it clean, but now I'm growing my hair out and my beard out. I don't give a fuck anymore.
Dude,
So
you should grow. Oh my god, dude! I don't know.
By winter,
What's the longest you've ever grown your hair?
High school is the longest it's ever been.
That wasn't very long either.
No,
dude.
it's like shaggy, like until blood. Technically, the longest is when I had my mohawk was the longest, but
sure, yeah.
Technically, because that was the back part of it was like down to my shoulder blades almost.
Yeah.
So that was the longest, but if you average it out with the bald of the side of my head, I don't really care.
Yeah, right. You disperse the hair across your scalp, and
as long as it is now.
It's the same. Right, yeah, it'd be the same length. Yeah. So,
a little shaggy in high school, but that's about it. But it's
dude,
we
should have let's have a hair pack. Let's grow it until next Westerns, and then we'll.
Do you really want to?
It, we'll keep them. Let's do it. Let's grow it out, and then we'll keep it real shaggy, real scraggly.
Okay.
Yeah. Have our SOs be disgusted.
Oh yeah, I forgot we were doing a podcast. This is the Golden Cinema Knowledge podcast.
Well,
yeah,
I want to look like Tim Blake Nelson, baby. Oh my god,
the grease in this movie, dude.
Beautiful.
I want to. That's like immediately from the get go. I'm like, I've just realized I like my westerns when they're greasy as fuck. Like, because it's just like,
oh, dude,
nobody bathed. Yeah,
there's no plumbing. It's not like he had, a shower that he could just go. Spritz off at the end of the day of hard work of hoeing.
Except for
this
that,
guy had a fucking.
His son did look like he just walked in from a trailer, though, like a nice trailer.
No,
that was the one thing.
The kid was like too clean. Like
we'll get into
the rain
that.
or something.
Yeah, we'll get into that because that's my biggest complaint. We'll see, but
I mean, we like our westerns ugly. We like them.
I do. I like them ugly, and I think that's kind of calls back to a reason why subjective reason why I didn't like The Searchers. One of the reasons, it's like the arrow is so clean, and
so clean everything. Yeah, even the dust is so clean. It's weird, It's so like it's so Hollywood where like it's put on so precisely.
Yeah,
it's not this like this feels so grimy.
Anyway, in case you didn't fucking realize, we're talking Western months. Obviously, we're gonna have long hair by next Western month. We're just gonna keep it.
Yeah, we're gonna. I know we don't. We need cowboy hats. We're on video now, so we gotta.
Oh yeah, I got a hat around here somewhere, but I'm
go
watch
our YouTube if you want to see us. Talk it out, and you can watch our hair growth over time.
I don't have anything yeehaw within close range, but you get the idea.
I know.
So
I actually did.
We're deep in Western month, and I'm loving every minute of it. I've been watching Deadwood. Oh, that's fun.
Yeehaw.
Yeah. I've been watching Deadwood. I've been playing fucking Hunt Showdown and RDR, watching all these movies. And today's movie, which you clicked on the thing, was Old Henry. And I'm glad. I'm surprised it won because it just seems like it's, other than being recent, it just seems like such a under the radar type of movie. You know what I mean? That no one watched.
I've never heard of it. It totally slipped under that radar. It was totally like, height of pandemic style, just kind of indie budget Western. This is totally. I feel like this movie gets made every year, and I miss the majority of it. I miss the majority of them.
It does, yeah. Well, that's the thing I like about Westerns and why they've stayed alive for so long. Because obviously, they have never been. We talked about this all month, but they've never been at the popularity that they always were back in like the 50s and 60s. Obviously, that was like the peak. But they've always been around, and they've always done like pretty well. And like big names have always come to them, but they've not been like obviously big blockbusters. But I think it's because you can make a really good Western on a really low budget. I think that's like, you have to have a good story, But like this movie, I don't know the budget. You'll tell me when we get there. But it's like this movie felt really small and really contained. But it's like this is the kind of story that only really works in like a horror movie or a Western. You know what I mean? Just like these all really small kind of contained bits. But yeah.
That's what I love. That's what I loved about it. It is so bare bones, and yeah, I mean, contained is the best way to put it because it's literally just like one set. So
yeah, I love seeing it.
Yeah,
and the woods, you know what I mean? It's just literally the fucking outside costumes and one fucking house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Anyway, dude, I don't even know why we bother anymore. Did you?
No.
Do you want to explain to the folks at home who have not seen it and want to bless your soul?
We should just call it something different because this is our synopsis. But I think what this is our retention like test for how well we retained the movie. Because
that's a good point. Because a lot of times it's like I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
I'll start writing them again. I like writing them, but I know
I do too. There's something that's nice about writing it, but then I like get like a paragraph in and I don't have time. But I do have plenty of time.
I'm gonna if we're gonna keep doing this, I'm gonna get like a little fucking board game sand timer, and I'm gonna just be like, okay, you got 3 minutes. Boom.
Yeah, I got a 90-second timer here. Okay. To give you the quick 90-second rundown. Fortunately, this one's actually really easy because it's like it's so stripped down. Basically, the movie starts we're in 1906. Now I already failed. Where are they again? They're not in Oklahoma?
Yeah, I think Oklahoma
Saskatchewan
territory. Yeah.
What is it? It's like Chiskaska.
I'm pretty sure it's Oklahoma. Yeah, I think so.
Chickasha County.
Sure.
Anyway,
yeah.
It's Chickasha. I know for sure. And then they come from like, I can scroll. I got things in front of me here.
Your 90 seconds is already up, and you can't even get the fucking year.
I already
as
failed.
If it matters.
But it's 19. Well, right. So no. It does. That actually is really important.
The
so
year
it's 1906. Yeah, it's 1906. We're in the Midwest in 1906, and there is a man running from 3 assailants. They shoot him down. He dies, and then we cut to Henry, an older man working on his farm. He's in the cut. He's digging, and his son comes over, and his son is like, "Oh, it's so hard to work on the rocks. I hate this farm. Your farm's boring, and I'm bored on the farm." And so they're like, kind of living their day to day.
Teenage boring teenage angst is nothing new, folks.
Right, exactly. He just like he wants a bigger life. He wants to see the city, and he thinks his dad's a fuddy duddy. Well, record scratch. A horse comes over the pasture, and it's a lone horse with a saddle, and they're like, "Oh, well, this is weird." So Henry walks over to it, and he sees there's blood. They examine it. Wyatt, the son, he's very like intrigued, and he's like, "Oh, this is like a mystery. This is cool." And Henry's like, "No, stay back. The world's dangerous." And you can tell Henry's like, he's old, he's aged, and he seems very wise, and you can tell there's a mysticism behind him.
Tim Blake Nelson, and he's got his little crazy squinty eye.
Yeah, his like squint through the whole thing is beautiful.
Like, listen now,
he
boy.
stays in character. Yeah, and he's like, you don't want to go out there. The world's scary. You know, he's a protective father, and he's widowed too. Sure, there's that. But so he goes out at night though because it's like he's also curious where the horse is, and he wants to find out and see if something happened because it's kind of his land is just kind of it's all like he's in the middle of nowhere, so there's not really too many people except like his brother-in-law lives, you know, whatever, just 6 miles down the road or whatever. But he goes out to find it, and he sees, oh shit, there's a man on the ground. There's a satchel of cash, and he's got a pistol. And the man has been shot, and he's barely breathing, about to die. So Henry takes him back to his house. They nurse him to health, and then you find out that like he's a lawman, but you can't trust him because the 3 men that we saw earlier, the beginning of the movie, they show up and they do like a little recon, and they're like, "Hey, we're looking for a bank robber. We're looking for somebody who's bad."
Yeah,
and
he's
so
got
the fugitive.
Yeah, he's got like the whole fucking sheriff badge on the whole time.
He's got the sheriff badge. All the other 2 people, they look like deputies, and that's what the guy says. He's like, "I'm a sheriff, and these are my deputies." And he comes from like God, we'll find it. I'll look it up. He comes from something OK County or something. And so Woods County. He goes from Woods County. And so, anyways, the guy the fugitive that they're holding, the injured man, he's like, oh no, that's what he's going to tell you. He's a liar. I truly am law. And then it like they do that. And there's like I'm missing like one little integral part, but the guys go to question the brother-in-law. The brother-in-law doesn't speak, so they come back. And I guess what's happening right now is the son finds a hidden like box that contains some like paper and some like old newspapers and a rifle and just like kind of odd contraband. And like the son's like, oh, this is really like intriguing, but he still thinks that his dad is like a nothing nobody, and his dad's holding him back. And he's like, they have their own like little low moment where the son's like, when I'm old enough, I'm going to leave you here to die, and you can just stay on this shitty farm. And then, and there's a good moment with the fugitive and him, and he's like, oh, your son didn't mean that, and he's like, no, he did. I know he did. And so it's like you have the three men come back, and then I guess you have one of the men. They come at night to survey, to make sure to see if the fugitive runs away. And then Tim Blake Nelson Henry, he kills that man because that man gets greedy and tries to shoot in there because he sees some movement. Anyways, he kills him. It's insignificant. But the two men come back and they bring a posse, and they've gone to the brother-in-law and they've interrogated him, and they brought their brother-in-law back, and the brother-in-law's all beat up. Henry comes out on the porch and he's like, don't kill, if you kill my brother-in-law, I'll kill you guys, and I can't help. You brought it upon yourself. This is the ultimatum. They kill the brother-in-law, and then Henry murders everybody, and you find out in this like it's beautifully edited. The ending's amazing. And spoilers ahead. This is our podcast. We've done spoilers forever.
Oh yeah.
But you find out that he's Billy the Kid. He's Henry McCarty. He's Henry McCarty, who is that's the real life, historically accurate name of the Billy the Kid. One of these great, late 1800s kind of mythic kind of everyman story that have done everything. They're kind of just like drifters who
Old West.
They broke out of they're Old West like vigilantes kind of, I guess, that whole thing. And but anyways, you find out like, oh shit, he's Billy the Kid. It like shows one of the newspaper clippings, and it's like there's like two photos in existence of Billy the Kid, and it's actually wild because he fucking looks exactly like Tim Blake Nelson. The casting was so good.
As soon as that happened, I was like, oh, that's a fun twist, and then it showed the picture and everything, and I'm like, he does look like a totally older version of Billy the Kid. I can really absolutely see that.
Yeah, and it's beautiful because then it's like you see, and like Billy the Kid IRL was a really good shot. He like practiced trick shooting a lot, and so it's like, and then we get like the beautiful swell of the climax, and now it's clearly like oh shit, it's Billy the Kid. Now he's invincible. He's a superhero. This is like his thing, like, so he's able to.
It's like a bit much, but it's also pretty badass. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Like it's super fun because that's where it's like the whole rest of the movie is pretty like quote unquote grounded. Like nothing. It's like. Right at the end, it gets pretty cheesy, and I think some of it's a little ham-fisted throughout the whole thing. But beyond that, it's like that you just get to see like, oh, it's like it's the mythic human that exists. That
it's like the classic gunslinger that's like a real world quote unquote like gunslinger from our world.
It's great. It's the trope of like. Like even the brother-in-law was like, you don't know the hellfire you just brought upon yourself or something. It's just that cool, like that, like you don't understand. Like he looks, it's like, and Billy the Kid like is historically he was always. I think this is really how he got away with a lot of stuff. Is they underestimated him constantly because he was a scrawny little kid that was just like, but he was like a scrappy dude. He just fucking would shimmy up like he'd shimmy up the fireplace and shit out of prisons, and like he's just a scrappy lad that would get out of anything, and he was pretty shifty, and he kind of had some like charm to him, but he was like dumb as goddamn rocks, which is amazing. So anyways, but he just had like a charisma to him and a really good shot. And so anyways, that's just kind of the fun part. It just ends with him being like, he's Billy the Kid, and he kills, and then he gets shot and he's hurt, and then he gets to tell his son like, go out and live your life. Life's pretty cool. He's like, I was happy that I settled down in my old age, but I'm glad that I get to,
he kills Stephen Dorff in the woods, and then the lawman that he's with turns out to also be a bad guy and kills him.
To be,
and he
I can't quite remember.
knew him as a kid. He's like, oh, I met Billy the Kid, because all the Billy the Kid nuggets are there, because it's like I listened to that podcast like last year about Billy the Kid,
right?
And
right,
so
right.
I was like, oh, the Lincoln County War or whatever, that's familiar, and like when they're going through the stuff, so all the nuggets are there. I didn't expect it to be him, but then when I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like they set it up good, you know what I mean?
They did, and they set it up like with the perfect amount of like. I was like, I didn't know who he was gonna be. I didn't know because apparently like it's a few things like his name Henry McCarty. It's like that's just that if I remembered, I would have been like, oh yeah, duh, that was Billy the Kid. But I couldn't remember, and so like I was like, oh, he's gonna be somebody quote unquote famous, like somebody from the 1800s that was kind of just like in the tabloids.
Yeah, I thought he would have been like a fictional character of Billy the Kid's posse or something. Is what I was like. Too. Oh, maybe
exactly.
then
100%. Yeah, I thought he was just going to be somebody who knew, who was like adjacent to a mythic person, kind of like how they did with like the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
Right.
That kind of like there's a lot of like
go listen to that episode.
I know, because we're fans, but. Yeah. I was a big fan of this movie, and I loved how it ended. It's like, I mean, it like the kid is the worst part, and I think that's kind of unanimous. And he gave it his all, and I don't think he was terrible. He didn't ruin the movie or take me out of it. But there were so many times where like I knew that like Tim Blake Nelson was going to be somebody important from like the second. It's like you just like from the second his first conversation with his son, where he's like, "You're so boring, Dad," and like I was like, "Oh, so he's going to be like." Yeah, I knew
just
like
the nature of the movie. Like
happen.
we've seen the trope in many westerns of like the retired gunslinger, and the whole time like when Stephen Dorff and them show up the first time, and then they're like that old farmhand showed a lot of guts, and he didn't hold that gun like no willy nilly,
And everybody kept being like, they're squinting at him, and they're like, man, your name rings a bell. Where were you from? And it's like, he's like, oh, I've been from here. And he's like, I don't have any kin. And he's like, oh, okay, I recognize that face a little bit there now. And then it's like, yeah, that kind of thing. And like having like the fugitive that was there, that idolized him as a kid, and I like how they kind of switched that. Like Curry was the guy. They switched it up where at the end he's or was it Curry? Anyways, yeah, it was. And he at the end he shoots him and he's like, "Oh, I get to be the one who killed Billy the Kid." And it's kind of like that. I like how
his acting is really good when he like is the excitement, but he's like also very injured, and he's like a bad guy, but he's like it's like this all these mix of emotions, but it's like this weird like old school like he's like excited, but also like he's like, oh shit, like I am the one that's gonna kill. Like I didn't want it to come to this, but I guess this is what it is.
Right.
Which that was the other thing. I never bought like I didn't know what the angle they were. I don't know if they didn't sell it good enough because the whole time I was like, he ain't no fucking sheriff. And then they're like, oh no, I guess he is a sheriff, and I'm like, oh really? No way, he's fucking slimy. Like I didn't trust him for 2 seconds, and then.
No, right, but he was a defective sheriff, so that
right, but he still had the outlaw brand and everything, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's like, but I knew he couldn't be trusted the whole time. And
well, of course, that's what I loved. Yeah. I loved that they kind of like they definitely like switched my expectations a little bit with like being like, oh, he's shifty and like. But he's like kind of cooperative, And
well, then, Henry was cautious too. Like he didn't immediately, he wasn't smart. Like, oh, like he really interrogated him about like his past and the fact that they did have a similar past. Where he's like, oh, you're telling the truth. Like he did. He's like, what was the name of the fucking lady who ran the hotel in this city? And he's like, and he knows it all. And so he's like, all right, well, you must not be lying about all that. So hopefully I can kind of trust you. So. But yeah, no,
that was a good scene where they have that conversation and then he unties him and it's like, like, it's a good breakdown. There's a lot of this movie that like, there's a lot of scenes in this movie that I'm like, man, that was a really strong scene. But then the overall movie is just kind of, I think that without the like the twist, whatever, quote unquote twist. It's not without that, like without the angle of it kind of being like the mythic, behind it, printing the legend. I think it would have been a little more forgettable, and so I really was like, I was impressed. Yeah.
Yeah, the script was like pretty. It was solid. It was like I wrote in my review on Reddit that it was like, it's super simple and like pretty boilerplate, but it's confident and it's competent. Yeah. Like it gets the job done, and it does it well enough. You know what I mean? It's like it was sort of resting on the laurels of not only the twist, but like having Tim Blake Nelson. Obviously, like the cinematography was great, and the acting, aside from the kid, I think was really good.
Well, and even he was good. That's the thing. I thought the kid was good, but he was in kind of a different movie. Like, you know what I mean?
That's what it was.
He was like,
this movie tried to be
like
subtle.
Like if it was like 1830, that kid would make a lot more sense. Like that kid would be like, I want to see the city. But like this is kind of, I don't know. This is like he doesn't know city. Period.
If so he's only he's only been on the farm. He doesn't. Not educated. There's no books or anything that we know of.
Right. It's very Bible heavy, and I understand that like
his
a kid,
sparkly white teeth, and he's taller than his dad. Like he fucking got stolen.
You can get it. Like they never really talk about it, but you can just assume like his like brother-in-law is large, so the wife could have been large. So it made him. It's like it all like that. That's why I'm saying he doesn't take me out of it at all. But I just definitely know like he definitely is kind of just the most. Awkward of all.
He was fine, but he didn't quite like it. You're right. He didn't
fit in the tone.
Well, the movie tried to do like, especially like Tim Blake Nelson was greasy and grimy, and like the cinematography was like I thought really great, and like but like dark, and the score was really dark and brooding, and so this movie was trying to be.
You can see the influence that it was that like the aforementioned
assassination of Jesse James, absolutely.
Early, like you can see it. That's one of its largest.
Yeah, during that first narration. Oh yeah, Unforgiven for sure. But yeah, that first narration, it's like all the wheat fields and everything, and he's like narrating. I'm like, oh yeah, this wishes it was Jesse James, but who doesn't?
Well, right, and I think that like it's like a facsimile, and it's its own little thing, and I think it's cool that so Pazzi Ponzaroli or whatever. This is his like his second movie, basically, technically, and he's worked on some series and he's like produced some other movies, but this is like his second directorial film, and it was gonna be completely different. Like it's kind of cool. I was listening to a podcast with an interview with him, and he like got together in like Oklahoma or something, and he was like just in a house, and he was writing the script for this, and then like somebody in LA got the script, and then it got to Tim Blake Nelson, and Tim Blake Nelson was like, oh, this is fun, I like this idea. And so like when he signed on, the Pazzi guy had to like completely, he was like, oh, this is a different kind of movie now. Like he's like I was gonna make one movie and have it be something and a little more low stakes, if you will, like no names, and just go out and shoot something and like have fun. And then when Tim Blake Nelson signed on, he was like, oh, okay, I gotta like step it up and actually like make a good movie. And I'm happy that he did. I'm happy that he took it serious.
He pulled it off. This movie is like, you can feel it's small, but like they really kind of pulled it out. Like I didn't think there was any part of this movie that was like deeply lacking. You know what I mean? Like at worst, it's like simple, but like not. It's never bad. Like any aspects of it are like they're all kind of punching above their weight. I think part of it, admittedly, might be a little bit of Western bias, because it's like I fucking you fucking shoot beautiful landscapes, but the lighting in this was fantastic. The use of natural light was fucking great with the landscapes, and like. But the score was like really stripped down, but it was really effective, I thought. Like, the house was really good.
Did you get? It was so weird. So like when this movie ends, it goes to credits, and then a fucking like country rock song starts playing. Like it's like. Oh, my son. Oh, I love you now, my son.
No way.
It's like singing. Yeah, dude, did you not hear it? Did you not listen to the credits?
The credits, I watched the credits as long as they ran, like over, because they started
yes, they would start over the kid.
Yeah.
But when they go to the black, when they cut to the black credits, not the actual cinematic credits where it's like those true. I like when they do that in movies where it's like it's always the like somebody's like it's typically somebody leaving scene, you know, and they're walking away. Even did the searchers do that? Fuck. Did credits go over to him walking away? No. Anyways, I think he just walks away and it says the end.
Yeah, the door closes. Yeah.
Right, the door closes. But anyways, so it's like I love that. Like, yeah, that kind of it's just a great like it's a great, you know.
I didn't catch that. I usually do
so
watch
bad,
the credits,
dude.
but I had to pee, so I was just like, okay.
No, and it's not like a movie you need to really get the credits. But anyways, it just was so jarring to be like, it's like thank God westerns don't put in contemporary country rock because I hate country rock, but it's like it was so out of place that I like started busting up laughing because I was like it'd be kind of funny to think about a movie with contemporary country rock and like the song was like super like needle droppy, like it pertained to the actual movie, and I'm sure it was like sentimental probably. I mean, I don't know, it's like it seemed really nice. It was a song about a kid, you know, that son. But anyways, that was just weird. But the music I really liked. I thought it was nice and ambient and brooding, and it worked really well.
It did dark like the I was there from the fucking opening, like that shot where it comes down from the woods and it's him just standing there, the one guy, the other fugitive.
Before he starts running.
And then the music goes and he just fucking starts running for his life in the woods.
Like, you hear like a horse trot or a gunfire or something like that. You hear something that like it's like the starting pistol, like the movie just gets going.
Well,
and I appreciate it.
And I really like Steven Dorff, the guy who played the main bad guy, the main antagonist, that was like the faux sheriff or whatever. He was a little like his writing was definitely like over like almost cartoon villain though. He's just very monologue-y, but I like him. I've seen him in a handful of stuff, but he was in most recently in the third season of True Detective. I don't know if you ever watched it, but he's so fucking good in it. And I was like, I forgot about that guy. But he's in a whole bunch of random stuff over the years. But I really like him, and I decided since this is a little tangent, but I would want him to be my gunslinger for the Dark Tower. It's like I think Steven Dorff would be a great fucking Roland, personally.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's definitely got like a I don't know, he's a mix between like Chris Pine and the dude from Deadwood.
Yeah, a little bit.
Timothy
Timothy Oliphant.
Oliphant. Yeah.
Yeah, don't get me started.
I like it.
But
if you want to talk about pretty cowboys, some sexy cowboys, baby. I'm telling you.
I always thought he was a fucking sexy dreamboat, and I'm watching Deadwood now, which obviously forget about it. But from the Santa Clarita Diet that I was watching last month, I'm like, oh, he's funny too, and he's like a suburban dad, man, I'm pretty straight, but you know,
I know, yeah, I'm. Pretty straight.
Timothy Oliphant, though. Forget about it.
Yeah, dude. I love
it. Yeah, this movie wasn't gay enough.
I know, right? Yeah.
Should have. But, it's interesting. I actually compared this movie in my mind to a movie we watched last year that was like kind of a similar budget and like kind of simple and like as far as caliber, but this movie did it way better, is In the Valley of Violence. You remember last year with Ethan Hawke? And,
with Ethan Hawke. And that's funny. I thought this movie was Ethan Hawke. In my head, I had that. Because Ethan Hawke has been, in the last 5 years, he's been in a few Westerns. Yeah. He was in a series and
Dude, he was. Everyone, that's what I'm saying. Every big actor loves Westerns though. Like everyone deep down, they're not like bringing audiences and making a ton of money. But that's the good thing. It's like you don't need millions and millions of dollars to make a good Western. Like you can make a good Western with a good script for cheap,
and they work because
people like I don't know, good actors are drawn to them.
Right. It's because you get to do what horror does, and you get to go deep and hard into the paint in a genre. So it's like it's super fun. Of course, I mean that's that's acting where you want to be a cowboy. Like you want to live in this this frontier lifestyle, and so it's like you want to go into it. And I think what I enjoyed about this is this is like where if we want to just do a quick comparison to like the 50s to now, where it's like the racism in this, they're just kind of like it exists, here it is, it's happened, and it almost feels more authentic to how it would be then, where it's just kind of like so baked in that like no one's really that phased by it, and it doesn't have to be like as pronounced. It's a weird. I'd have to like.
No, I agree.
Like read some books about it. Like they're super racist to the like. I don't even know. I mean, he's Latin, and maybe he's. I mean, I assume he's from Mexico because I think I think he says that.
I think he does.
He speaks
say
Spanish.
It. Yeah,
I assume he's from Mexico just because that would just make more sense for the time period of like going from the border. They're like they're really close to the border, and from where he comes, where they met up before too, historically, when they talked about it, he would have met in like New Mexico or whatever. Yeah. But anyways, it's like the racism they have towards him. It's so like subtle and kind of like just baked in that I'm like, well, there it is. And that I was like, okay, that like,
yeah, it doesn't
become such a big part. And it's like we know now behind the scenes, they're not doing it. So it feels better than like the 50s when it's like the 50s. They're like, well, yeah, this is fine. Cause this is how we act now.
Yeah, 100%. Cause it's like, like you said, it's just so, I don't know. It's like the movie doesn't have an opinion on it. It's like the characters, like it is just really just part of the flow that it just like, I don't know.
And it almost, I guess, because it's like, because it's subtler, but like, yet it's like, oh yeah, well, like I can see that, wow, that's a really racist thing they said. But like, they're still kind of on equal playing field in it. And I don't know.
It doesn't draw attention to itself like the other ones where it's just like, I feel like another movie, especially an older movie, would be like, look at this bad guy. Look how racist he is. Like, but it's just like that's part of it. But it's
kind of what we get with the 90s, where in Unforgiven, if you can remember, it's like, it's cool because, Morgan Freeman's in it and he's black, and like Clint Eastwood's character is just like, well, yeah, my friend's black, big deal. And that's kind of that, and it's the 90s version of like, well, I don't see color, so it's like I don't see race, and so it's like that kind of like, like he's my friend, he's black, but then like the big bad sheriff, or the evil towns person, they hate him because he's black, and it's like kind of funny where it almost kind of overcorrects itself, where this is definitely like more subtle and feels more realistic.
Yeah, I agree. Now this, yeah, man. I really like these like smaller westerns, and there's a lot of them coming out that get forgotten. So I really glad we got a chance to watch this, because I do remember seeing something about it when it came out. But like these small westerns are coming out kind of all the time.
All the time. That's what I'm saying, dude. Every like 10 years, we get like a big assassination, which is like an art house style, but big budget. It's that film versus movie, and it sits in like, oh, this elevates film, like There Will Be Blood. It's like this movie where it's like, it is such a genre piece, but yet it's so big and so relatable that it becomes
just wait till next week. I already have a handful of ones that I'm picking for the poll.
Oh,
and
cool.
Like, yeah, they're gonna first cows on there.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah,
because I wanted to see that. But
me too. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, I think that, like I said earlier, every year we're getting westerns, just like every year we get tons of horror, and it's like, it's such a popular genre that will never go away. Where I actually see the superhero genre kind of dissolving into nothing, and maybe every 10 years something comes out. But like, it's just weird. I feel like the saturation is similar to the history of the Western, but I feel like the Western has a more Hollywood integrated, success to it. I don't know. I just see well, it's got the potential, like you said, the like horror movies, you can really dig in, like it attracts a lot of the stuff because you can tell really subversive stories, and you can use the genre to kind of like disguise, other deeper themes, and that's why horror is so great. And I think Western, like you said, is so similar. It's like coming off of it. It's such a specific genre that says so much about, like, you could say so many things about like culture and race and fucking just like, and history.
Heritage,
that's the big
history.
I love this. I love this kind of history. Like that same with assassination. Like I'm like, that's what I want. I wish everything was taught like that.
Yeah, well, it's just like the the frontier, American frontier in the fucking 1800s is just like, yeah, it's just a place where a lot of really interesting stories can be told of all shapes. It's really great. I'm a big fan. Big fan of westerns.
Yeah, I loved it. Well, and I love it too because it feels so so like old-timey, and so, and like, where this movie does feel kind of like relatable. Like the kid just kind of wants more to life than like what his father chose, and that's you know, I think that can resonate with a lot of people. It's like you don't always want just like the lot in life that you kind of can see in front of you. It's like that's the future that he can see, and he's like, he's restless against it, and
he really is a 20th century. He's going to become a 20th century man,
and that's cool. It's like,
yeah,
and
really
I do like that. I do like at the end. It's like that's where this movie is the weakest, is when it becomes a little heavy-handed, where it's like at the end I liked how surprising this movie was,
like,
where you
go live your life, son.
But really,
when he explore the world, and
there.
I'm like, that's a perfectly good cannibalistic hog farm you got there. Like,
I know, right? Well, no, and I just love it too when he's like, you can go out, you can see the world you want to see, and you can dance with the flappers, son. And it's like, he's like, you're gonna go out, and it's 1906, and you're gonna see some wild ass shit. Actually, things are gonna be fucking insane from being born in 1906 to growing up to like 1956, 1960. That is so much different than being born in like 1955 and growing to like 1906 or whatever, you know. It's like, or 1855 to like 1906. Like that technological gap is like fucking insane.
This kid is gonna fucking go to World War I and get fucking his head blown off in a trench, probably.
Probably. Yeah, he's probably gonna do it for a woman, and then he'll die. Yeah, but man, it was fun.
So do you have the budget on hand? Because I specifically don't try to look at budgets anymore, because you're my guy. You know what I mean? This
will be. I was trying to find it. It doesn't exist. He didn't post it. It's not like readily available, but I'm confident to say this exists in the $5 to $10 million range. It doesn't. It's shot on an Arri Mini. Arri. Oh my God, what are those called? Yeah, or Arri Alexa Mini.
Sure.
And it's got some pretty big names behind it. Tim Blake Nelson, but Tim Blake Nelson did this in one of his interviews. He said he did this as like his indie, like it's his.
Yeah,
it's his
they're not
passion.
like household names necessarily. You
No,
know?
right, and if he's doing it for like, what is that called? Like, oh my God. Just like standard flat rate,
street cred, yeah, no.
whatever that's called. I don't know. When you're an actor, where's David when you need him? He would know. But yeah. So he just did it. He did it like base. So basically, he just was like, you can pay me really low. And from the looks of it, and it took him a month to shoot it. It's like, you know.
Yeah, I would have guessed like 3 to 6. Yeah, I would have guessed like 3 to 6. Would have been my guess. Like, I could see it getting closer to 10, but I'd be surprised if it was 9 or 10.
I say 5. I say 5 to 10 because it's shot on location, and that sometimes. But if it was shot on location in like wherever, Arizona, Oklahoma, I really can't remember.
Well, that's the thing. It's like 75% of it's just exteriors out in the middle of the woods and shit, and then you got the one house, which is probably it looks like an old. Just looks like it was already there. You know what I mean?
Right. It was. Yeah, it's not like. Yeah, it's not. It wasn't
like
built
a set
from the ground
that they
up.
built it. Like they probably did some stuff, but
sure. Yeah.
But because that I do feel like every time I would have an issue with this movie, it would be so minor, and it would always be that like their budget showed. But that's why I say they did the max, because even I haven't even complained about it once. But usually my biggest complaint about this kind of stuff is like digital blood, of which there is quite a bit in this.
Yeah.
But it was surprisingly, and it's not even like well done, but like, it was well edited. Though. It was like well edited and like well graded into the scene, that it's just like, it was never distracting in the way that digital blood usually is for me. That it's like, it never irritated me. I was like, that's definitely noticeable. Yeah, it's definitely noticeable.
The blocking the blocking felt tight, and it felt like they ran it again, and that was something that the dude who gets killed in the middle, you know, one of the 3 original bandit guys who comes at night and he gets killed. It's like they did that take quite a few times, and they took it really serious, and so that was I think that's like an important detail is like they were Tim Blake Nelson was like on board to be like he just straight up professionalism. Like he was like on board to get it. He wasn't just like I'm gonna throw you a bone and do this thing real quick for you and just phone it in. He was giving it his all, and so he was like down. And when they shot that scene, that whole sequence at night, it was 30 degrees. And so like they're in the wet mud.
He's like shoving him in the mud and like choking him out.
And when he kills him, when he kills him there. And so it's just like brutal, dude. And it's funny because he broke his nose in real life on accident. So how they shot it is what they do is they took like 400 Oreo cookies and crumbled them up and then put them like kind of wetted the ground a little bit and put them on the ground. And so it was like when he got his face pushed in there, it's basically just water and Oreos. So it like it really sticks onto his face really good. And it like smells better and it whatever. It like tastes
gets
better.
In his mouth.
Mud.
It's like,
not real mud. So yeah, it's just like he gets like his face put in there. But when they go to do the take again, he gets pushed over to the side and his face gets slammed into real dirt and mud and rocks and like totally broke his nose.
Oh no!
Like totally crushed his face.
Tim Blake Nelson, he's just like, I'm Billy the Kid.
But he's like, and I love, dude. I just love how it's so great because there are like subtleties in it where I'm like, Tim Blake Nelson he's such a better actor than like he's deserved. Like I get it that he's so fugly that
he's always like the side part. Like I'm glad to see him in a leading role.
Yes, right, exactly. I'm like he's got main character energy, dude. He's so fucking good. Like just his stances on the porch, how he turns his body so he's not like square, and like it's like little things where it's like I'd enjoy it. Like a lot of his like facial expressions and like him keeping that eye kind of squinted and like he looked so weathered. He looked so real. It was
even
great.
The most recent thing I'd seen him in was The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Right.
And they're both in the same genre, but it's like he is dapper as fuck, super charismatic. Like
and
his
charisma.
The presence of both characters could not be more different. Like that's like such a thing. Like he is in the same genre. But it's like you would probably, other than the way he has such a distinct face, but even then, it's hard to go from that one to the next one and be like, that's the same guy. And that just goes to show, because I'm like, even as far back, like in all of Coen Brothers stuff, I mean, he's an O Brother and everything. It's like, I immediately am like, we thought you was a toad, like the whole time. But
I love, I think him just smiling in the car, like he's so good.
He always crushes it, man. So it's like, I want to see him in more stuff, and he deserves to be a lead. Even it's like because he has such an interesting face. Like, it's like he's got the ugly stick, but it's like that's better for me. It's better to look at than some fucking superstar. Like
he needs to be in a silent film. Like he is. He looks.
Make
exactly
him
like
Nosferatu.
From 1920. Oh, that'd be so sick, dude.
Can you imagine if Tim Blake Nelson was Nosferatu?
Oh my god, he could do it. Actually, he really could do it. I wonder who is it? Do you know who's supposed to be?
I don't know. Everyone says like Willem Dafoe just because he's being in it, but I'm like he was already Nosferatu and Shadow of the Vampire or whatever.
I think he would be. I think he would be a better like, Van Helsing. But anyways,
I don't think he's gonna be in it. I don't think he's gonna be Nosferatu. He's definitely gonna be in it, but he probably will be like Van Helsing or someone.
Yeah. Well, do you have some Reddits?
I bet I got a Reddit or two.
Yeah, and it for its gross that the box office is posted. This movie is a COVID movie, so kind of like rough. It only made like 80 grand.
Oof.
It didn't even get 100,000. And I'm assuming that this had like the most limited release possible. Well, it probably opened in like 100 theaters.
I remember it was streaming, and that's when I meant to watch it like last year or the year before maybe. I was gonna watch it because it was streaming, but then it wasn't as easily. But it's like
I'm excited to see the future, dude, because they're gonna have to start integrating like fucking the. I mean, I know that like all the streaming apps are really, really like fucking shady about their numbers. They're not very transparent, and so like who knows how much this made?
Yeah, exactly.
Streaming purposes. So that's what kind of
it's a whole new world, bud.
I know, dude. It's a new frontier.
It is. Anyway, so I got Chase Priest with an A. I have seen it, enjoyed it a lot, to be honest. There's a bit of a twist, and you might be able to work it out, but either way, the reveal is well done and pretty satisfying. Tim Blake Nelson was very good in the role, something of a little different for him, I suppose, but he was invisible in the character for me most of the film. I liked the narrow scope of the story, too. It wasn't world-ending stakes, but the stakes were big enough for the characters. It didn't outstay its welcome, but it had enough time to breathe. And had some pretty nice set pieces, too. Well worth a watch, I'd say. 100%. That's the other thing we didn't even mention. Perfect. This is like a fucking barely over 90 minutes. Like, I don't.
Perfect.
It's like, short, it's sweet. It uses its time really well. It's paced really well. It's pretty great.
And I love that it's like twist. The twist is like, it's kind of weird. I agree with you. It's not a twist necessarily, but it's also like it clearly is because you don't know who he is, but you're kind of like, oh, okay, there's a mystery behind who he is.
Yeah.
From like the first scene, it's like he has a conversation with the brother-in-law. The brother-in-law is like, this is good for you to be out here because it's like, you don't know if like he was a crazy murdering maniac or something, before. And it's like,
it's weird to call it a twist, but at the same time, yeah, because it's like, if I would have known he was Billy the Kid way earlier on, that would have not been like that moment of realizing is fucking cool. It's not like in a way, but it's so dope.
Yeah,
like,
right. It's just like brought a smile to my face. Like I was like, oh, he's Billy. It was like, it's Billy the Kid. I'm like, oh shit, yeah. Like it is kind of funny. It is one of those things where like, oh, of course it is. Like that's totally, yeah. He looks just like him, and so it's like, yeah.
I almost read my own comment. I was like, Leave 72 says.
What does he say?
No, listen. Refer to the previous 45 minutes. Clones of People 2 says, I really enjoyed this. It's a really good modern Western with a small story and familiar characters. The idea of the retired gunslinger reliving his past is not new, but this is done really well. It was a really nice touch to reveal Henry as Billy the Kid, which brought a Western mythos to the film. I love these types of characters, the morally ambiguous, legendary gunslinger. The cinematography was great, especially the colors and the lighting. There was an amazing scene at sunrise, and there was so much beautiful natural lighting and great scenery, giving it a real genre feel. It was a little bit too talky at times when it could have been more broody, but overall, I really enjoyed this. 8 out of 10. Thank you. I agree.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. I actually, the one thing I don't think it was too talky. I know what you're saying, but I think I liked it. It had enough. It had enough talky to me, and it's like outside of, I guess what's funny is like some of the talky stuff with the sun is kind of boring, but I liked all of the I enjoyed the bad guys versus good guys, like being like
Steven Dorff's black hat character, as the villain.
He's smart, but cool-headed, and then he dies at the end because he pops off, he doesn't stay cool-headed anymore. He kills the brother-in-law, and it's like, oh well, now it's like, yeah, you were keeping calm, but then you lost your patience, and it's
and he's long-winded enough that you hate him and not the writers, though. You know what I mean? It's like
right.
It could go, because there is sometimes if it goes on too long or if it's just too much, then you're like, oh my god, it's the writing. It's so monologue-y, but it's it really worked for his character because you could tell he really just liked to be in charge and liked to hear himself speak. And it's it did feel, his scenes did feel a little wordy, but in a way that served the character, I feel like. That it wasn't ever really a problem for me, but I can absolutely see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, of course. But I liked it.
Yeah, it's worked. It's tight. So, yeah, I don't know. A lean, fucking above average modern Western this movie deserves for you to go see it. It's not going to fucking change your life or anything, but it's just I don't know. It's just got a lot of good shit to offer. It's fucking entertaining at the very least. It's just
appreciate your stream.
Yeah, go check it out.
Give it your little stream, and yeah, you can't hate it. It's just, it feels good.
I know. If you hate Old Henry, you're a fucking asshole. Maybe the title, because originally I was trying to get my wife to watch Old Henry. I'm like, hey, you want to watch Old Henry? And she's like, Absolutely not.
You know, right? You're like, yeah, you can't. Yeah, I know you can't.
But
call
it
it
works because it's like Old Henry. Who's Old Henry? Oh, you can't call it Old Billy the Kid. You know?
I know, right? And I think that's what's great is they did a fantastic job at hiding it, even on like IMDb. It's he's like Tim Blake Nelson's character is Henry. It's like and it's like they don't.
Oh yeah, they did a great job, and like I think
the trailer doesn't give it away. It's great.
They do really good characterization. I think something that's probably really hard to do is they give Henry, this old Henry version of Billy the Kid, is his own character. Right. Like he has all this characteristic, and it's an interesting dynamic because it's quote unquote based on a real person, but like what a real person would be like.
Well, and it's like
with
it's like 20
years or whatever.
It's 20 years after he died.
Yeah.
So that's what's really fun about it. That's where it's kind of like, I mean, it's not like I don't know.
Well, it's like historical fiction in that way, but it's like it takes a real person, but adds this like fictional character of the older.
If you were like a history buff and you knew Billy the Kid, you know that he died in like the 1880s, and so it's like you're like. Oh, okay. You're like, who? I mean, aside from, I guess, knowing his name, that would kind of definitely gives it away 100%. But regardless of that, you'd kind of be like, oh, who's this person who's like, that's what I enjoyed. I was like, oh, I wonder if they're going to get like, if they were going to touch on more future, quote unquote, with like vehicles and like talking about big city because it's like 1906. But I'm glad that they kept it just real. I mean, they kept it so secluded, which was sometimes it was a little heavy-handed, And
it was really lean.
When they're just like, oh, this is nice. You're out in the middle of nowhere. But it was like a veiled threat, and so I enjoyed that writing. But it is kind of funny. They're just like, you're out in the middle of nowhere. That's got to be nice.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and like even at the beginning when they're digging, it's like it's very effective where it's just like, immediately the relationship between the three characters, and he's like, there's tractors that can do this now. And according to the time, it's like, the time period, the characters, the relationship between all the characters in like just a few sentences. And it's like, it's really straightforward screenwriting, but it's like really effective storytelling. You know what I mean? It's effective, certainly. So anyway, I'm not going to draw this out any longer. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say about fucking Old Henry. You should go watch it. If you're one of the two people listening that made it this far.
We love you.
Go watch it. Hopefully I can entice some people. My dad wanted to watch this movie because he actually, I think, is the one that told me about it originally. He's like, that guy.
I'm pretty sure every single dad is going to want to watch this movie. I don't know a dad that wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So
yeah,
it deserves your watch. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a good movie that's underseen.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'll sing its praises in the streets when I'm firing my 6-shooters in the sky.
I know. I wish you would. Yeah, it'd be good.
I know. Yeah.
Anyway, we got one more Western movie. I don't know what it's going to be yet. We'll know in the morning, so keep an eye out for that being posted. Oh, just kidding. We got 2 more Western movies.
We got 2 more because we have. Because did Pale Rider win?
No, I don't know. It's got like a whole day left.
Oh, it's got a whole day. Oh, excuse me, everybody. Well, I don't know. Go out there and vote, friends. Get on the Reddit and give it an old votey vote.
By the time this comes out, it might be done.
All right. Don't give it a vote, but go look at the poll and see what won.
Vote on next week's.
Yeah, vote on next week's. It'll just come up on your Reddit when it comes into your feed.
Come
vote, baby.
Check it out. Come vote.
If you don't use Reddit every day, just come to the Reddit once a week, typically around Saturday. We'll have a post up. You can vote on our page. It's r/Cult of Cinema Knowledge. Come join us. Our Reddit it's fruitful. Got a lot of people talking. We love it.
It's a lot of fun.
To see you there. If not, come to our Patreon. I would love to see you at Patreon. That would be super fun. You can be there. You can support us, and
we're there. You can come meet us, the dudes on your car radio right now or wherever.
I know. Yeah, on your podcast when you're at the gym pumping iron. Do it. You can do it.
We'll interact with you. Yeah.
We will. Yeah.
Dude,
I don't know. We're gonna start putting tiers on where it's like I'll send you my flesh. Is that what you? I don't know what.
Can I have some
I'll
of
send
your
you my
flesh?
shirt. I'll start with maybe my. I've made some shirts. I can send you those.
All right, that's enough.
You just interact with us. But we love movies, so
Westerns, great. Keep an eye peeled.
Delicious things to eat.
There it is, old Henry.
Yeah.
Okay, goodbye. I'm making
I feel like I'm young. I'm young man.
Oh, young Jordan. I'd watch that movie.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, dude. And the twist was I was Michael Jordan the whole time.
Whoa!
You guys go to bed.
Controversial. Okay.
Or go to bed if you're driving or if you're working out.
Yeah, go to sleep now.
All right.
Bye.
Goodbye.